and good morning, and welcome to another episode of What's Important Now. And this morning, I'm here with Kim Lengling. Did I say that right? Lengling? That is such a tongue
You
twister.
did. You
Kim is a fellow writer and podcaster, and she's put her hand up to be on the show today from all the way from Pennsylvania in the USA to talk to us about what's important to her now. So, welcome, Kim. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I love doing these types of things.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. So tell us a little bit about you. What's your background and maybe a bit about what life was like before 2020 and everything that's followed.
It's funny because before 2020, everything seemed kind of humdrum. Get up, go to work, come home, do your normal thing. And it just felt humdrum. And then, the world went crazy
Yeah.
and everyone had to, to me, everyone's saying pivot, but I'm not using that word. I just use plot twist. It's
Oh, I like that plot twist.
plot twist and they're coming at you from everywhere. So, life has changed for me dramatically since
Yeah.
then. I was working full time outside the house, and now I am not. So
Wow.
I am able to focus all of my time now on my writing. I've been writing since 2004, and now I'm able to put all my focus on it. And I've got a three book collaborative book series that I'm working on right now. And the first volume of that will be released in a couple of weeks. So I'm kind of
Wow.
excited about that.
What's the book about?
It's called When Grace Found Me, and it is stories from women of faith around the world, sharing their triumphs of going through struggles and coming out the other end stronger.
Oh, I love
So
that. That's beautiful.
yeah, I'm
Wow.
pretty excited about that. So it had
Fantastic.
started out as yeah, it had started out as one book, and it was something that popped in my head in August. I was sitting on my back porch, my dog's running around the backyard, and all of a sudden it just popped in, and I'm thinking I'm going to reach out to a couple ladies, and then it kind of exploded, and I had 20 women for the first
Wow.
book, but then more women kept asking, "Hey, are there spots?" And I said, "Well, we'll make two books then." And then I had enough for two books. So I'm like, well, we'll make it three books. So it turned into a series without me even trying. So that's really exciting. And it also showed me that there's an awful lot of people out there that have something to share. And my goal is to get it to land in the hands of who it's meant to land in.
Yeah.
It's gonna land right where it's supposed to. The story, a very specific story, is gonna touch the person it's meant to touch, and
Yeah.
hopefully provide a bit of light. That's what I'm always saying. Even if it's just a pinprick of light, we need to provide that. And especially now, 2020 has just been a crazy year, but it's also been for me eye opening. And I've found out to me what's important. And that's showing so much more kindness. The world needs more kindness. And I'm hoping my books are able to share that, the grace and the kindness and the faith that people are missing in their lives right now. So,
Yeah. Yeah. So I can hear that that is what's important to you right now, which is great. We just segued right into the next question. So yeah, so when you think about kindness, like, and you think about the book that you've created or co-created with all these women from around the world, are there any stories in particular that stand out for you? Do you want to share a little bit from the book?
there's a story from a woman. I'll just give a brief summary of it. She has no faith, none, in a very dark spot. And she wanted to participate, but she wasn't sure how to write it. And she said, "Should I even be in this book?" And I said, "Yes, I think you should." And I had a strong feeling in my heart that her sharing her story was going to impact her in ways she wasn't anticipating.
Mm,
And during this time frame that she's writing the story, her mother gets COVID and passes away from it.
Oh.
And she goes through this very, very tough time, and she falls into this pit of darkness. And I have a private Facebook group set up for all of the co-authors. And so we're in there always chit-chatting back and forth, praying for each other, supporting each other. And when I had found out that she had told me her mom had passed away, I put that in the group, and all of the women just jumped on immediately saying, we're praying for you. And she didn't respond for a few days. And then she did respond saying, I think I can actually feel your prayers. Wow. And I never thought that I would have that happen to me. Mm. So that, to me, super powerful stuff. I get teary-eyed thinking about it.
Yeah. I can tell. Like, it's wow. That is so powerful. Like, for that woman to feel that support.
Yes, and she's in the United Kingdom, so I've never met her in person, and her writing her story has impacted, and then with everything going on in her life while she's writing it, has had such a big impact on her life, and it's shifted her thoughts from staying in the darkness to knowing that there's a pinprick of light out there. And for our group of women from around the world that was just really randomly brought together, seemingly randomly, brought together, it all happened exactly how it was supposed to. And it's just been an amazing, it's not just putting books together, it's been amazing. And so many of these stories, one woman, she had 5 miscarriages before she was able to carry a baby to full term.
Yeah.
And after that, that was it, just the one child. And that's still, her child is now married and on his own, and married and has his own child. But that time frame in her life, she carries very, very heavy on her shoulders.
Yeah.
And she shares some of that. She shares some of that journey. And I know there's so many other women out there that go through the same thing. So her story is going to land right where it's supposed to, and hopefully give some hope and encouragement and inspiration to other women who are going through that same, it's trauma. That's traumatizing.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, what a special gift to give those women. That's incredible. So tell me more about what's shifted for you during COVID, like during this period in 2020.
There's so much division worldwide, and I see it here in the United States. It's absolutely horrible at times. I literally stopped watching television in March. I haven't turned my TV on since March. Yes, it's the only way to keep sane. You go crazy if you let all of the media,
Yeah. It's the word of the year is doom scrolling. So, oh my gosh. Yeah.
The shift for me was I'm focusing on more positive things, building positive relationships, meeting new people, and it's all virtual now. I've met some amazing people from around the world since this started that would not have happened before. I've joined some groups that are just phenomenal, and I've been able to, connect with them and doing all kinds of collaborative projects that are all for good. And nothing negative. So that was not that I was a negative person, but now it just seems like, and also I feel it in my heart.
Yeah.
There's so much need for positivity and kindness and empathy and compassion. And I'm just one person, and people, they're like, well, you think you can change the world? So no, I don't think I can change the world, but I can change one person's world with kindness, empathy, and compassion. So that's
and it has a ripple effect, right? Like, so you enable one person to see something they didn't see before, and then they pass that on to somebody else. It's classic paying it forward, and it really works. And that's the whole point of this podcast, is to give people a voice about what matters to them, because then they actually stop and think about it. And like that was my experience entirely, and it completely redirected the path of my life by doing that. So we pay it forward to other people in the hopes that they will pay it forward to other people. So yeah, so that's how it works. That's how life works. And so you've hit it on the head, and you will change the world just by being you and by doing what you're doing. You already are. So that's what I would put to you.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
I like how you said ripple effect, because well, before COVID, I did a lot of public speaking for like nonprofit groups and stuff
Yeah.
around in my area, and they would often say, oh, you're tossing out so much goodness, and they always say tossing, and I said, well, no, I'm a pebble tosser. I just toss my pebbles in the pond, and those ripples that gently roll, they're going to land on the other side of the pond or bank, or the bank of water or whatever, and they're going to land exactly where they're supposed to, exactly
Yeah.
where they're supposed to.
I love how you put that. They land exactly where they're supposed to. Is that
Yeah.
a phrase you've picked up this year, or is that something like a philosophy you've lived by your entire life?
I've been saying that for years. I'm a pebble tosser,
Yeah.
just causing those little ripples. It doesn't matter how small it is, because the same happened to me. Someone tossed out empathy and kindness, and they noticed when I was in a struggle years ago.
Yeah.
I'm a veteran, and I live with PTSD from a trauma experienced in the military. And
Wow.
years ago, the members of the veteran post that I'm involved in here, the gentlemen, they're Vietnam combat veterans, and they noticed a change and a shift in me. And me and my pride, I'm strong, I can handle anything. Um, but it doesn't always work that way.
Mm.
You can lock all kinds of stuff away in that room in your brain, but life is going to continue on, and that door is going to start to creak open. And when it starts to, all that stuff comes flooding out, and it overwhelms you, and you think you're going crazy.
Mm.
I thought I was fine. But these gentlemen whom I love dearly, they said, "We don't know what's going on with you, kid." They always call me kid. "We
Mm.
don't know what's going on with you, kid, but we recognize the signs." And they said, "You've got to get to the VA, which is here, the Veterans Administration.
Yeah.
You got to go talk to somebody, and if you don't, we're going to drag you kicking and screaming."
Oh, wow.
So I didn't. They drugged me kicking and screaming. And I look back all these years, 15 years ago that happened. I
Yeah.
look back and I'm thinking, you know what? If they had not done that, I would not be writing. I
Mm.
would not be doing anything that I'm doing now. I would
Mm.
not be so involved in the veteran community and helping veteran families in need. I'm a huge advocate for veterans. I started a nonprofit 6 years ago called Embracing Our Veterans. So if I had not, or if they had not, because it certainly wasn't my idea, if they had not pushed the issue and forced me to go talk to someone so
Yeah.
I could understand what was going on, I would not be doing anything that I'm doing today. And I have so much love for those men. And
Mm.
they are family. They are truly, truly family. That they took the time to notice and acknowledge and help. And I think too many people don't do that. They get uncomfortable. You know, somebody's going through a struggle and they're like, no, I have my own. I don't want to get involved.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
Too many people, we just need to acknowledge people. Acknowledge, even if you can't help them, acknowledge them and say, I see you. I see your struggle and I
Mm.
care.
Yeah.
I might not be able to help you, but as a human being, I
Yeah.
see I see you. And I don't think people do that enough. I just don't. So I'm trying to be one of those people.
Well, it sounds like you are. So that's incredible. So I'm curious. So where were you in service?
I was all stateside, actually.
Okay. Yeah.
I was military intelligence. I did Morse code,
Wow. Morse code.
and they don't
That's
even use
incredible.
it anymore.
Oh, really? They don't.
No,
Okay.
I ran into a couple of young men that in the Navy at a gas station one day, and I was in my honor guard uniform because I had just got done doing a funeral, and they were in uniform and they were doing a funeral elsewhere. And so we're at the gas station, and they're like, they're calling me ma'am, and all. I'm like, oh my goodness, I must look really old to them. But to them, I was, because back then I was probably early 40s, and they were probably 20s. So they said, well, what did you do in the service? And I said, Morse code. They looked at each other and both of their faces turned red. And I said, what's so, and they're grinning. And I said, what's so funny about that? And they said, well, ma'am, they don't use Morse code anymore. And I went, I'm not that old, kids, you know. And they said they were out one time, and I don't know if they call it ship or boat, what they call it in the Navy, but they were out deployed, and they lost all power. And they said, the one young man said to the other young man, he goes, no, remember that older guy? He knew Morse code, so we had to use him. And I said, how old was this older guy? And they said, oh, he had to have been 35. And I'm standing there, I think I was 41 or 42 at the time. I'm like, oh my gosh, I am getting old.
Oh, isn't
So
that
that's how
funny?
I found out they gotta use Morse
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you know what? Sometimes when my kids get annoyed at me just for fun, they'll call me a boomer, and I'm like so insulted. I'll pretend to be really insulted anyway. And just like, that's like two generations on. I'm Gen X. And they were like, oh, that's even worse. That's like the nothing generation. I'm like, there are a lot of Gen X's out there who are doing amazing things. So,
That is
that's
right.
not true. Yeah. Wow. I don't know if, yeah, I don't know if you want to dig into, what was at the heart of that PTSD or not, but I'm curious to know. But if you don't want to talk about it, that's okay.
No, I will. That's actually one of the stories I share when I public speak. I didn't for a long time. I was sexually assaulted by two individuals,
Mm,
and that puts a heavy load on you
mm,
to carry, and you carry all kinds of shame, guilt, even though now I've learned there's no reason to, because
yeah. Yeah.
I was a victim. I'm sorry if you can hear my dog clicking around. He's
Oh, it's okay. I have a child playing a ukulele upstairs, so you might hear that too.
but
Yeah.
this whole guilt and shame thing I carried for many years, and
Mm,
trust was non-existent. So that's and you lock all of that away, and I didn't realize I had done that, but it was immediately following that, because I was able to escape. I was I was put in a car in a parking lot. I was walking back to my barracks one evening and snagged in a parking lot, put in a car, and taken away. And I was able to get away in the early morning hours. And it was winter time, super, super cold. Super cold. That's one thing I remember. And I just ran. I had no idea where I was at, but I just ran as
mm,
fast as I could. And looking back, I realized as I was running, I was building a wall. It was like each step was a brick, and building that wall so firm and strong
mm,
that nothing was going to get in or
mm.
get out.
Yeah.
And I was able to keep that intact for a good 12 years. But you don't realize the impact that has on
Mm,
your body
mm,
physically, let alone mentally. And then other traumas might happen in your life. You have a death of a loved one or a friend, or divorce, whatever, something like, something big and life altering.
Mm.
And that starts tapping cracks in your wall.
Yeah.
And I had a really bad year one year, and three things, massive life altering things happened all at once. It was all within 6 months. Boom, boom, boom. And I found myself on my knees on my living room floor, sobbing and crying out to a God at that time I did not believe in.
Mm.
But I remember saying, please, God, please.
Mm.
And that was a turning point for me because I felt lost and I didn't know how to handle everything that was whooshing out from behind that wall.
Yeah.
And I tried, but then that's where, my veteran friends, they noticed. And that was a turning point. That was a turning
Mm.
point for me. Did
Yeah.
it happen overnight? No. But it was a process, and it still is to a point, but I'm so much better at handling stressors or life changes and things like that. But at that time, I had no experience with it, and I had everything locked away. I thought I was good to go.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah. And it's true. Those kind of things do have a way of coming out, um, in times when we're stressed. And absolutely, I've had, not to that extent. I've been sexually assaulted. Absolutely. So I totally get what you're talking about, and that how that comes back at you later on in life. Um, and so how old were you when that happened to you?
18.
18. Wow. So you're so young. Gosh. And do you have a family of your own?
I do. I'm divorced, but I have one daughter. She is 30, and she just bought her own house all on her own, and her and her young man and their two dogs. So I'm very proud of her, very, very proud of her. And I have my own dog. His name's Dexter. He's the one that's clicking around if you heard him.
Yeah. Cool. What
He's
kind of dog is he? Have you?
he is a Belgian Malinois Mastiff mix.
Wow. Okay. That is a mix. Yeah. We've got a
Yeah.
dog too, Kelpie. So, yeah, they're awesome. Wow. I just want to acknowledge your courage. Like, incredible that you can share about that so candidly. A lot of women couldn't. Um, I wasn't that young when I had an experience. I'd actually just started dating again, and I'd had a, really bad experience. And it could have completely colored my experience of relationships and intimacy ever since. Um, and it didn't, because I did the work to, yeah, to look at it, and it's not always that easy. And what occurred to me when that happened, because I was like in my 40s, right? This wasn't that long ago. This was maybe 3 years ago. um and I'm an educated woman, and I think I'm pretty savvy. I've traveled the world, and yet that happened to me. And I the shame was around almost the embarrassment that I could allow myself into a situation where that happened, at my age, with my education and my knowledge of the world. And the thought just occurred to me, there are so many young women out there who lack, self-esteem, who lack that knowledge of, how to, like, look. They don't know the warning signs. I thought I knew the warning signs. And that was the thing. Like, if that could happen to me when I had that knowledge and experience in life, then, it must be happening a lot to younger women, and they're not talking about it. And so, we have this whole digital age where we've got, Tinder and things. And look, I met my current partner on Tinder. So, I'm not dissing Tinder as such. It can really work. But, in terms of like my current relationship, it really took something for me to deal with what had happened. And I knew I had to deal with it if I was going to have an epic relationship. And so I did. But not every woman has, you know, they don't always see it, and they don't always know where to get support. And it's awesome that you got the support that you did. Um, you know, thank God for those amazing men who dragged you kicking and screaming to get that support. Um,
Oh,
and for
yes.
you, for just surrendering to it. Like, I just really want to acknowledge you for that. It's very, very powerful for you to be sharing that story.
Well,
Mm.
thank you. It's something I'm going to work on. It's been in my head. I always have ideas in my head for different books.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
or maybe a series of stories, maybe not a book. I don't know. Who knows? It might turn into a book. But I
Yeah.
want, and I've had a lot of mental pictures. I have a vivid imagination. And I think that helps in my writing because it's very vivid.
Mm.
Um, I want to somehow write a story of me at 52 talking to me at 18,
Mm.
because that's a lifetime between.
Yeah.
And I want to, and this is something actually my VA counselor has suggested numerous times to me. And I freely admit I still see a counselor. I see no shame in that.
No, of
Um,
course not.
they're so helpful in getting me to look outside my bubble, you know.
Mm.
Um, but she had suggested this years ago, and I'm just now seriously thinking about it. She says, "Well, what would you say? What would you say to your 18-year-old self now, looking back?
Yeah.
Because you struggle with that self-worth at times. I still have that. Anxiety, I still suffer
Mm.
from that. Depression, I still suffer from that. Looking in the mirror sometimes, I'm like, what am I doing? You know, um, and I still do that, self-doubt and all that. But I know what it is and I recognize it now and I know how to work with it and turn it around.
Yeah.
At 18 and probably I think till I was about 33, I didn't know. And I just had it all bottled up.
Mm.
So I want to be able to have a frank conversation with my 18-year-old self
Yeah.
and tell her that in the end, 30 years from now, you're going to be okay.
Mm.
And if I were to write, a full story out like that, I would probably pray over it so hard before it went out into the world to make sure it landed in
Right where
other
it's
young.
supposed to.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly where it's supposed to land.
Yeah.
Because when you're that young, you don't know how to deal with stuff. You
No.
don't. I don't care what anybody says. You're 18, 19, even mid 20s. You're not prepared for that.
Mm.
You didn't sign on for that stuff to happen. You're just not prepared. Heck, and you just mentioned yourself, you're in your 40s
Mm.
and have all this knowledge and you're educated and you knew the warning signs and yet it still happened.
Yeah.
I think more women, and I know it's very, very hard. And honestly, it's just been within probably the last 5 years that I can frankly talk about stuff like this, you know,
Mm.
conversationally. There is a little switch I have to flick in order to do it. But at least I can do it. Before I couldn't. I would be so anxious and,
Yeah.
you know, hyperventilating and sweating. And I'm like, no, I can't do it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the last, 4 or 5 years, I can just get up in front of people, doesn't matter how many, or like this, one on
Yeah.
one,
Yeah.
and calmly talk about it without becoming upset because
Mm.
I know, even though I would never wish that on anybody ever, ever, for whatever reason, I was meant to go through that so
Yeah.
I can do what I'm doing today.
Yeah. 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 Wow. I've got to hand it to you. That is something. And, that brings me to my next question is, I can see your passion for people and contributing to them. Like, it's incredible. So, what is next for you? Like, moving out of this period that we're in, what's going to be important to you going forward? And I think I know the answer, but I really want to hear you say it in your own words.
I'm going to keep on writing
Yeah.
and reaching out to people around the world to I'm so into these collaborative books right now. There's so
Yeah.
many there are so many people with amazing, amazing, powerful stories that
Yeah.
need to get out there.
Yeah.
And one, I'm going to be speaking with a lady this week. I am so into rescue shelters and no kill shelters for animals. And the dogs I've had have all been rescues. There's a very large animal rescue here in my area, about an hour away. And I was just speaking with the founder of it. And we're going to have another discussion next week. And we're going to do a collaborative book called Rescue Stories. And it's going to be all about the
It's
people who have
amazing.
saved these pets.
Yeah.
But the people think they've saved the pets, but in reality, who saved
Mm.
who
Y-
saved who?
That's
Because
interesting. I have a
I
friend here in Australia. Shout out to Donna Doolittle, who I bet would love to talk to you. Um, so I'll make sure I afterwards stay
her
on the
name
line. I'll
her
connect you
name
with
is
her.
actually Little,
Dr.
like
Doolittle or Donna
Doctor.
Doolittle.
It's
She has
awesome.
she just loves rescuing animals, especially dogs. And yeah, so she's developed a whole business around supporting people who have rescue dogs. So yeah, Donna Doolittle. So shout out to Donna.
Yes.
um,
Don't even know you, but I love you already.
I will make sure we'll connect on Facebook.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
so yeah, wow. Like what's really stands out for me is listening to your story is just your absolute conviction and courage to be a person who makes a difference to other people. So I always wrap up these interviews, and we could talk for hours. And my co-partner in crime, Nathan Ahern, shout out to Nathan, who I do wityayl with. So wityayl stands for what's important to you in your life, and this podcast is part of that journey. It's basically, we're in the inquiry of what's important to people, giving them a voice so that they can actually say that, because a lot of people don't get asked that question. And we had no idea how many people didn't until we started interviewing people and asking them, have anyone ever asked you this before? And they're like, no. So yeah, so Nathan will probably go, oh, it's too long, but it has been perfect. And I want to acknowledge you for just using what's happened to you in your life for good, and seeing that as an opportunity to make a difference to others. And I know that your book is going to be an amazing success. It's like chicken soup for the soul. Everybody loves reading those very personal, vulnerable stories. And that you want to do more of these books, just pardon the pun, speaks volumes about you. So yeah, I can't wait to see what you get up to next. You're probably going to end up this like massive publisher of collaborative books. It's brilliant. And
Who
what a
knows?
way, yeah, what a way to, to make an impact on people. Like that woman in the UK, like, um, her life will never be the same because of that. I'm sure of it. So, yeah, incredible and so wonderful. I love these conversations. I love just digging into all the different things people are doing, blessings they're giving other people. It's incredible. So, thank you so much for coming on the show, Kim. You've really touched me, and I so appreciate you and what you're doing. And I can't wait to hear about your books when they come out. If you've got a link for your book project, please share it with me, and I'll share it when I share the video. Uh, yeah, so just thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much. I love doing these things and meeting new people. So it was an absolute pleasure to meet you. And let's stay in touch. You never know what's going on. We can
Absolutely.
maybe we can even collaborate ourselves.
Oh, I reckon we could. Absolutely.